Our Lewis and Clark journey continues in Louisville, Kentucky. We'll begin across the river at the very spot where Lewis met up with Clark, at the Falls of the Ohio in Clarksville, Indiana. Then we're gonna hang out with family. It's always good to catch up from time to time. We'll stop by downtown and we'll tour the Louisville Slugger Museum and Factory and the Riverfront Plaza and 4th Street Live. We'll visit the Jim Beam Distillery and Bardstown, the bourbon capital of the world. After Louisville, we'll continue down the Ohio River, following the path carved by the Lewis and Clark expedition towards Paducah and beyond.
I'm riding in my RV, wherever I want to be, 'cause I'm free in my RV. Yeah.
Well, good morning. Today I felt like pork loin for breakfast. Big Bone Lake here, very nice campground. Only water and electric, but very nice nonetheless. Bunch of activities.
Continue on Dixie 338 south for 3 miles.
And of course it is the long weekend, Memorial Day weekend, so yeah, lots of families at the campground. Oh, now we're going to Louisville. Kentucky has some of the prettiest countryside in the whole country, especially the bluegrass region. Although here we are technically in the outer bluegrass, the inner bluegrass being the area around Lexington, the horse capital of the world. Although Ocala, Florida also claims that title, so I don't know. There it is, Louisville. And we're going to be in the city for a couple of days. Illy has been in Miami for a little over a week and today she's flying back. Really excited to be in Louisville once again and see some of the things we haven't seen before. And catch up with my cousin Juan, Maria, Lori. Oh, and the reason we're here as far as the trip is concerned, of course, as long with St. Louis and Pittsburgh, this could also be considered the beginning of the Lewis and Clark expedition. This time we're staying at the Louisville South KOA, which is pretty well located, kind of halfway between downtown and Bardstown, and relatively close to the airport. Well, it's a beautiful day in Louisville. We just got here and Illy just boarded her plane and she's flying. So, in a couple hours, we're going to the airport. It is a brand new day and we're going to start at the beginning. Let's go to the place where Lewis met up with Clark, on the north bank of the Ohio River, at Clarksville, Indiana, at a place called the Falls of the Ohio, which is more like rapids, really, treacherous, yet navigable at times. Before we get there, let's park here for the scenic view of downtown Louisville. Here we are, Falls of the Ohio State Park. As the story goes, when they shook hands on October 15th, 1803, the Lewis and Clark expedition began.
And they shook hands. The Lewis and Clark expedition began. And it was here, Clarksville, Indiana. Those are the falls of the Ohio River. And right now it's a state park nowadays, but this is the very spot where, Lewis came from Pittsburgh, just like we did, with a keelboat, and Clark had already, chosen a group of people here, and Lewis, crew and Clark's group, they both met here, and it was from here that they began the journey. Of course, they wintered in St. Louis before actually heading out west, but this is the spot where they met after several years. Actually, they had served together in the war, and they hadn't seen each other in several years, and
Let's check out the interpretive center. Apparently, they have found many fossils in these rocks. And before going inside, let's enjoy this view of the Falls of the Ohio. As I said, they are more like rapids, and nowadays they have locks and a dam. But back in the day, it must have been a challenge to navigate. The exhibits go from the geological and natural history of the area to the culture and its evolution to the fossils they have found, and it is overall very well executed. Let's just take a walk through and see what there is to see. Finally, here's the exhibit about the Lewis and Clark expedition, and there's an excellent movie about it.
The extraordinary epic adventure that started here at the Falls of the Ohio succeeded in forever reshaping the map of America.
There is also an aviary, and I could spend a long time here looking at the birds, doing their thing. Let's go down to the river and see if we can find some fossils. Ooh, look at that, there's one right here. Well, this was certainly one of the landmark events in the Lewis and Clark expedition. You could say this is where it actually started. The first time the two friends were together in command of the Corps of Discovery. Now that we've seen it, let's take a detour and explore the rest of Louisville. We'll get back to the expedition in a couple of days farther downstream. Coming to you from the future. Well, the present actually. Today coming to you from western Montana in real time. It's getting chilly out here. But the reason I'm here, I want to tell you about our sponsor for this episode, Surfshark VPN. And they've been a sponsor for a very long time. VPN stands for Virtual Private Network. And what it does, it creates a secure private connection between your devices and the internet.
And this is particularly important if you have nothing else and you have to connect to that potentially insecure Wi-Fi connection at a campground or coffee shop, hotel. It is crucial that you connect to that insecure Wi-Fi, especially if it doesn't have a password. I've seen a few of those through a VPN. It has other features. It has this clean web feature that will get rid of unwanted ads and potential spyware. It has a true incognito search that is actually for your eyes only. And then my favorite feature is that you can teleport virtually to pretty much anywhere on the globe. Let's say that there's a TV show or a news program or something that is unavailable at your current location. All you do is there's a menu and you select whatever country, whatever city you want to be in, and you are virtually transported as far as the internet is concerned to that location. Now, if you go to surfshark.deals/myrv and you enter promo code MyRV at checkout, you'll get 83% off and 3 months for free. Now, back to the present, or the past.
Alright, I spoke to my cousin Juan, longtime Louisvillian, and we're going to eat at this place called Captain's Quarters Riverside Grill. But before that, let's drive around Jeffersonville here a little bit, which is adjacent to Clarksville. Here's where I stayed for Thunder over Louisville back in 2017, which, by the way, it is a must-see event in my opinion. For the air show and the fireworks and seeing the whole community of Louisville, Clarksville, Jeffersonville, and nearby towns converge on this spot to see the show. And I thought Jeffersonville in particular was a good-looking town. Today, the city is hosting an event called Abbey Road on the River, which seems to be a festival about the Beatles and their music. Took a little detour to see another part of town that didn't turn out to be as expected, and now we're going to the restaurant. And that big square we're about to drive under is the Riverfront Plaza. We'll be coming back here in the next couple of days. We still have a little bit of time to kill, so let's drive by Bardstown Road, which, coincidentally, I think eventually goes to Bardstown, the bourbon capital of the world. Trendy area with lots of bars and restaurants. Twig Leaf here on the right is a pretty famous place, or so I've heard. Beautiful place here. You can relax by the river, enjoying the good weather. You can arrive by boat. What a great discovery. I would have never known about it if it wasn't for my cousin Juan and company, which, by the way, we had a great time catching up over lunch. Such a great time that we decided to continue someplace else, at this floating bar called the Drift Bar.
This used to be a gas station for boats.
Yeah.
There's still that, there's the gas station right up there.
Right there, it used to be a restaurant.
Restaurant, yeah.
Yeah.
We used to come here and get gas when we were water skiing.
I like it. It almost has like a tiki bar vibe to it.
Primo, that was a lot of fun, man. Here at the Drift Bar. So,
Good time.
good time.
That's how we spent the rest of the afternoon. Just hanging out. We certainly don't get to do it as often as we should.
Oh yeah, good morning. It is actually like 10:30 in the morning, and this is the time when we're making burgers. It's gonna be like a brunch kind of thing, and then we'll go into town, explore a little bit. Maybe I should turn him. Well, let's go for a little walk because this campground, besides having a nice swimming pool and all kinds of amenities, it does have a hiking trail, so let's see where it leads. Pretty cool.
I thought it would go to a river or a creek or something, but it is just a trail to nowhere.
I heard some movement back there.
Our first point of interest today is going to be right here on the left, and that is the Louisville Slugger Museum and Factory. It seems to be the #1 tourist attraction here, so let's find parking. I think we parked too far away.
So we ended up parking about a block away because we don't know what we're doing, but the museum is right here. Well, that's it. Let's go inside. It's concrete.
While they don't allow video inside the factory, I was able to snap a few stills with my phone. I was really not aware baseball players were so particular about their bats. They go through the history, and you get to see the machines in action. I really wish I could have shown you these in motion. I guess you're gonna have to come to Louisville and see it for yourself. Well, that was a really cool museum to visit, especially if you're into baseball. What's that golden statue? Well, what do you know? It is a tribute to Michelangelo's David, almost twice the size of the original. And, 2 red penguins. Let's walk around and see what we bump into, what we encounter. Like this marker commemorating the establishment of Louisville.
Here we are. Quiz jungle.
It is a nice park. Too bad it is nearly deserted, but I think it is mostly used for like festivals and events throughout the year. And here's one of the statues we've been looking for. That of George Roger Clark, surveyor, soldier, often called the conqueror of the Old Northwest. He was also William Clark's brother. In fact, it was at George's house in Clarksville across the river that William awaited the arrival of his friend Meriwether Lewis. Across the river, that would be the famous Colgate clock, located at what used to be a soap factory. We can even see the falls of the Ohio from here. This other sculpture would be York, William Clark's enslaved body servant. He was the only African-American member of the Lewis and Clark expedition, and the first African-American to cross the continent and see the Pacific Ocean. Louisville feels very nice, very clean, very modern, at least this area of downtown. Next time we come, we gotta get on a riverboat. I didn't even know they had them. And that's 400 West Market, iconic skyscraper. And let me tell you, the city has very aesthetically pleasing architecture. Here's the Kentucky Center for the Performing Arts. Let's make one final stop here in downtown today, and that is 4th Street Live, which is this entertainment and retail complex. We ended up at Gordon Biersch, of all places, which is not bad, but it is a chain and maybe we should have done something more local. But we're not in the mood for bourbon today, and we're gonna have dinner someplace else. We're going to eat at Claudia Sanders' Dinner House, originally opened in 1968 by Colonel Sanders of Kentucky Fried Chicken fame himself and his wife, Claudia. It is a beautiful property. But we're here just an hour before they close and service isn't really great. I mean, look at it. This place is nearly deserted. And let's face it, it is little more than a fancy KFC, with a much more extensive menu when it comes to sides. And I love KFC. Perhaps the experience would have been better had we come earlier. And I believe this is the house where the colonel and his wife used to live. Check it out. Hot air balloon. Let's fill out our map. And technically I've been to 49 states, but having a full map is not fun. So I've decided to reset the map every time I change rigs. And this is, so far, where Minitini 3 here has been. No visit to Kentucky is complete without visiting at least one distillery. We've done Maker's Mark and Woodford Reserve in the past, so today it is Jim Beam.
Well, time has really gotten away from us here during our time in this area of Kentucky near Louisville, but I thought, we'd do at least one distillery, and that is Jim Beam here, Mr. Jim Beam right here, with his hat and all that. They have a sculpture here by the entrance, and in my grand original plan, the idea was to do a good portion of the Bourbon Trail. This is all we're gonna be able to do, but we're not gonna do the whole tour. We're just gonna do like a quick tasting.
Very good tasting and very educational. The amount they let you taste, however, not very generous, but still very enjoyable. Now let's go to Bardstown, the bourbon capital of the world. There's my old Kentucky dinner train, and there's so much to do in this area that I can't believe I thought I was going to be able to see everything. Here we are, arriving at the historic downtown.
Well, we've made it to Bardstown, bourbon capital of the world. It must be true because it says it right there on that that yellow sign. And now let's look for some bourbon. By the way, that's the courthouse over there at the end of the street. Right there. Well, I'm gonna get run over. Let's go.
Let's go to the Volstead Bourbon Lounge, named after the Volstead Act, which established prohibition. So it's got this speakeasy vibe to it, and the bartender recommended this excellent bourbon.
almost looks like we're doing something illegal.
Well, that was a fun afternoon.
On the road again. By the way, good morning. Today we're going to Fort Massac or Massac. I don't know exactly how it's pronounced. Across the river from Paducah, Kentucky. But we're staying on the Illinois side. So we're adding a new state to our map.
It is going to be a travel day, and today the idea is to make it all the way to Fort Massac. Just like Lewis and Clark did when they departed here on October 26, 1803. They arrived at Fort Massac on November 11, so what took them more than 2 weeks, going with the current, we're going to do in roughly 4 to 5 hours. And that is taking the scenic route. But more about that on the next episode. Until then, thank you so much for watching, and see you on the road.
Riding in my